Yo, 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 welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Furlong, I'm your host, and once again, super excited to be back here to have a conversation with you all. And this one, it's a bit of a different episode, and I want to just break it down for you quickly. One of the great powers that we can learn from, whether it's from ourselves or from others, is hindsight. Leveraging the lessons of others and what they've learned comes with the classic saying that, success leaves clues. And being able to take these lessons and I guess then enabling ourselves to avoid making those mistakes or learning the tricks and hopefully enabling us to take action and execute more effectively, well, this is a win-win. And today we have a return guest, Kevin Exconde. He is back to chat all things what if. Now, the whole premise of this episode has come from, that Marvel TV series called What If, and how it basically just creates a whole different scenarios of different universes of if something was to happen, or what if. And I know Kevin's a huge fan of Marvel, but what I wanted to actually do is take both the domains of what Kevin has learned in his own experiences through life, growing up as an individual, becoming a videographer, now on YouTube, and all the other things that he's dabbling in as well, and also walk that through with some hypothetical scenarios too, and combining the two worlds of what he's learnt to date and then with the information that he has, how would he apply himself to these different situations. And I think it's really important that we sometimes ask ourselves these similar questions, basically to challenge our norm, to help us think outside the box, and to maybe really identify what are some of the important things to us and how can we go out there and make it happen. So the whole intent of this episode is to have a bit of fun. It is a bit of a conversation, slightly different, but at the same time there is some big takeaways that I want to encourage you all to make sure you get comfortable, make sure you get cozy, and however you like to listen, whether it is on the YouTube, we do have the YouTube experience, or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, there's plenty of things and plenty of conversations to take away, which I think will be of great value to you. So let's jump into it. Welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, Kevin. It's so good to have you here for the second time. How you doing, man?
Appreciate it. I'm good. Just going about my life as usual.
That's it, man. Look, it's always funny. I mean, every time we catch up, it's so chilled. I mean, well, that's normal. But I feel like these podcasts that even the second one that we've done, they're just so relaxed. Like they're completely different compared to when I'm, interviewing or catching up with other guests, just because I know we have so much conversation on a regular basis that I don't know. I feel like we could just talk for hours and we could just record it.
We were actually talking like for a while before this, and it just felt natural. It was like,
it's so good.
Catching up.
But since last time when you were here, we had you as a guest and we got to know who you are, what you're all about. And I'm so happy to be able to have you come back and talk with the audience once again, and on a bit of an interesting topic, which we'll get into in a minute. But before that, how's things for you? You're still doing YouTube, you're still doing videography. How's that been going for you? Because you're over in Canada, so different side of the world, and you guys would be coming into winter. Oh, you're coming. Yeah, so you're coming into winter, but you've just had summer, because I know you had taken a lot of time off and just chilled. So how's things going over there?
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of continued, like in terms of like seeing family and friends, just because I think everyone just after the year and a half that we had, it's just kind of like I'm seeing a lot of them on a week-to-week basis and hanging out with my friends and family. So the YouTube stuff has, like, I'm still pretty consistent, upload once a week. I think maybe a week and a half to just stay consistent. But yeah, a lot of my time now, like I told you before, we spoke about it, it's getting into like a new hobby, which is understanding cryptocurrency and the blockchain stuff, which is like it's a whole other world. It's keeping me up, folks. I feel like I'm up like 23 hours of the day in a fun way. And so that's what's been really eating up my time, just because there's so many interesting things about it. But yeah, that's about it.
That's good. I mean, look, I think if anything, and we've chatted, I think we chatted about this briefly last time, is, the pandemic, it taught everyone what's important to them, and what's really important is those little things, whether it's spending time with loved ones, whether it's being able to just do the things that you love or have the luxury of time, or whatever it may be. And now that, I mean, we're a bit delayed. We've only just kind of started to come out of lockdown here in Melbourne, Australia. But, once you got that freedom back to be able to go back to some sort of a reality, it's been nice to be able to just ride that wave. And it's also a bit of a scary thing to get back into, but I'm so happy to be able to hear that, because it's been a it's been a long year and a half.
How about for you? Like, I know last time we spoke, you guys have been like on this roller coaster of being inside and being inside. And
we were in another lockdown from basically about June, July, all the way till it was the middle of October, the start of October. And so we're basically back to freedom, if that's what you want to call it, which is weird because it's been about 3 weeks now. Retail's been open. You can go to places. Obviously, you have to wear masks, double vax, all that jazz still. But it's weird because I haven't really been out. I just haven't had this urge and rush to go out, just because I've gotten comfortable with being in the lockdown and going out to places and seeing lots of people. It's still really weird to comprehend and fathom. We were basically in lockdown for, I think it was 220 days in total or something. And that's across the whole span of the 2 or 1.5 years. So it's really become more of a mental thing than it's just weird, right? Even seeing people, or people saying catching up and going to gatherings and stuff, it's just like, I can't be bothered, or just don't have the interest, because I want to catch up with the friends and stuff. But when it's these big events, you haven't done them for so long that you've gotten used to doing all these other routine things, or working on yourself, or your new hobbies or whatever. So it's it's weird, but it's good. I mean, it's really good. We're moving in the right direction, where everyone's slowly, I wouldn't say everyone, but we're basically, I think we're at 92% single dose, and like 88 or 87% double dose. So we're getting there. It's nice. Just,
and at least you guys are kind of coming into summer, right?
Yeah, we are. But it's weird. Like, I mean, today it's like 13 degrees and we're almost in summer. Wow. So it's been, everything's weird, man. Everything's weird.
That kind of sounds like, is that, I'm assuming that's not normal because you're acting.
No, it's not.
The way you're acting.
It's not. Really? So usually
for us here in Toronto, it's like, it's almost like that. It's like 6 months winter and then 6 months summer. Like there's there's like 2 weeks of in between.
So so we're in spring and we should be getting around 26. So we're basically getting half of the average at the moment. Like we had the fire going the other day, when usually we would have packed up rearranged the lounge room, and that would have been about a month ago. We would have started to stop using the fire. So we're about 4 to 6 weeks behind schedule. Which, I mean, look, we had snow out on the peaks the other day, which, usually we have snow around June, July, August. It's a weird world, man. It's
it's shifting.
And so look, I'm so glad to have you here. And the topic we're here to chat about today is it's an interesting one, focusing on, I guess, hindsight, and we're going to chuck in some what if scenarios, and we'll dive in a bit more about yourself first, and then we'll do some what if scenarios. But for the context for everyone that's listening, is the way I pitched this to Kevin was, we go through life and we learn so many different things. Kevin's been around the block for a while. He's been he is a successful videographer, YouTuber, and he's done a lot of things in between. And I wanted to ask him, if he was to be able to reflect and recall back all the moments in getting to where he has come, what that journey's been like, and to take that information and then apply it into a bit of a conversation. And we're about 10 minutes into this episode, and I'm about to drop a big question to you, but we'll work through it.
I'm ready.
I guess, so you've gone down this path, you're successful, you've learned a lot along the way. And with all that in mind, it's kind of like, well, what if you had all this information that you have now, like, you're 30 and, you've got all this information around how to build a YouTube, how to be successful as a videographer, and, how to make an income, how to live life, all that jazz. If you were 16, 18, going back to be able to start again, but with this information, what would you do? How would you do it? Or would you change anything? Because hindsight is a powerful thing. But it's also, it's that cliche of like, oh, well, I wouldn't change it either. But, because you have to go through that to learn what you want. But let's say you didn't have to.
Yeah, let's say you didn't have to, and we had that knowledge
Yeah.
and kind of carried it in. Man, I think for me, if I could like, I, I would definitely be more invested into like technology.
Okay.
I feel like that at my when I was 16, 18, it was like never a thought, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just investing in um technology and like social platforms, I think is something that I would definitely be more invested in. And
Yeah.
also like just kind of telling myself like to like continue, and as funny as it sounds, it's like to continue playing games, like
Yeah.
never lose that love for that, like, or even getting into that industry. Because at 16, 18, after 18 is when I was like, all right, man, kind of have to stop doing this because it's not going to take you anywhere,
Yeah.
right? Now
Yeah.
in hindsight, that's a $1 billion industry, not even just being a game. Like if
Yeah.
I just stuck to it and I got interested in game development,
Yeah.
in 3D, creating 3D avatar, just a
Yeah.
whole other world where I didn't give up on some of the things that I loved doing, like really loved doing. I think I would have stuck with it just because I think the whole industry, that industry, is so powerful now for so many different reasons.
Yeah. It's no, I can totally resonate with that, because you think, if we're saying, back 16, 18, that's what, 12, 13 years ago, almost
Mhm.
15 years ago. So, well, for me, I would have been, going through the final stages of high school. So we call it VCE, year 11, year 12. I assume it's something similar for you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
And, that's when you're kind of picking the core subjects that would then tally up to what you can then go and do in university, basically, the scores that you get in those 2 final years in high school. And
Exactly.
I mean, for me, yeah, I wanted to, originally I wanted to do video game design. I kid you not. But when I was going through year 11 and 12, one of the criteria for one of those courses was specialist maths or math methods. And I started that in, there's four, I guess you have to do 4 blocks of it. So year 11, you do 1 and 2, unit 1 and 2, and year 12, you do 3 and 4. And 1 and 2, I basically just passed. I didn't, go through.
Yeah, you barely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You're
And
stringing along.
I realized, like, no, I can't do this. I don't like this. Like, it's not for me. I love the idea of what potential it can bring. It was the same with coding, like programming. Like, because I couldn't think that way, I knew the potential of it, but because I couldn't do it, I gave up on it. And not to say that I should have tried to do it more, but I can understand at
Mhm.
that time, that was all the exciting things. This is the new things that's coming out. They were talking about join the video game, designer or become this. And it was a bit of a weird thing, a controversial topic back then, because telling your parents or, family or people, oh, I want to be a video game designer. They're like, what? Like, are
Well,
you
yeah.
crazy? Like, get a real
No,
job.
it's stupid.
Or,
Exactly. Get a real job is
and
that's
okay.
ingrained.
And so, I mean, for those that don't know, so if we flash back to you when you're 16, 18, what games would
Mhm.
have you been playing back then?
Oh man, I'm a huge like first person shooter type of person. So like I love and the competitiveness of it. I was playing a lot of Call of Duty. I think I
Right.
I logged in like my first year of college. I actually logged, or my first year and a half in college, actually logged in like 5 months of real playing time.
Wow. Wow. That's a fair
Like
effort, dude.
actual play. Yeah, yeah. Like actually 5 months. And so I was so addicted. I was going to tournaments. I was doing all this stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um, yeah, and I just didn't know, like, it was just so fun. And then after that, it was like, okay, Kev, you gotta
Just,
start
just,
doing
just kind of
science.
stopped. Yeah.
Stop, just because like at the time, um, and it's kind of on me too. It's like I could tell my parents like, yeah, I want to do games or video games, but I didn't do the research to just be like, and this is why. It's, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So in hindsight, if I was 16 again, I think I would do a lot more research to like kind of understand like
Yeah.
where this is going. And
But at the same time, back then, there was no one that you could kind of idolize and say, yeah, but this guy's making, a
exactly,
living from it.
you had to make your own path
Yeah,
and figure out what you wanted
because
to
it was
do.
probably more the video game design area that was going to be where the demand was. And it wasn't probably until, like, I'm trying to, because we're the same age, so I'm trying to, reflect on myself, but it probably wasn't until we were both around I would say even in the last 5 years that we
Yeah.
start to see that come to tuition, like come to life, like people making money from Twitch, people, the tournaments, and that was probably a lot of League of Legends and stuff. But now it's like
Now
everything.
it's yeah, plethora of things, and
Like
like
it.
it's
So
incredible.
yeah, it's then again, I mean, back then you wouldn't have known. So I mean, you don't know what you don't know. But now that you play back and think, well, if you had invested your time and energy into that realm or into that ecosystem of tech,
Mhm.
into video games, whatever that
Yeah.
was, for 5 years, then you would have started the journey of then getting into that world for another 5 years, and then here we are now. It's but even with the tech, like you think about, I mean, how old's Facebook? I mean, Facebook came out when we were probably 15, 14,
Yeah.
maybe. So
Yeah.
it must be
So
about 15, 16
15
years old.
years. Yeah, for
So
sure.
that was only just the early days of Facebook as well. When we talk, so you mentioned around tech and social platforms.
Yeah. And like YouTube too. Like YouTube for us.
Yeah.
I remember getting on. I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember YouTube having a star rating. This is gonna show how old we are.
Oh, yeah.
Uh
I do
there was
actually.
a rating system, and it was like stars,
Yeah,
like at the
that's
bottom of the
true.
video.
That was before it was
And
purchased by Google, right?
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like just them doing it by themselves. So like, see how like even that, and then gaming, you just it was so new. Technology was so new, but I really wish that I invested more time into tech. Like maybe not even gaming, but just like understanding that. Like what
Yeah.
is like
Okay.
understanding social behavior as well from a like psychological standpoint.
Right.
I think
Okay.
that's why a lot of these platforms and this tech is to fill a void, right? Every good business fills a void.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
right.
Hundred
So it's
percent.
like,
I mean,
you know, you want it
that's
to
the
be
whole premise of it.
easier, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I just never thought of that. Like now that I'm older and we're older, it's like,
True. It's
like
like when you watch young
understand it.
kids with technology or like iPads or iPhones, they're using it to have fun, or just, oh, mum, you can just do this, use this to, or use your
Yeah.
calculator or whatever. Whereas back then, well, we couldn't fathom that at the time because we couldn't see that value. It was more just so exciting because it was something in our hands that you could touch and scroll and move. But it's interesting because, like, so I've always been kind of like I wouldn't say a huge tech head, but like I used to build and sell computers, when I was going through high school. So in that sense, I was the tech guy of the family. I'd help people reformat computers, or my parents, or if something's not working, come help me. I need to defrag my computer, or what's the best antivirus or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always said to myself, like, I want to make sure I stay on top of tech, or I want to stay on top with the latest, whether it was with video games, and even with the social platforms. And I remember, so we had Facebook, then we had Instagram, and
We
then,
even had like MSN like
oh yeah,
before
yeah,
that.
but that was
Even
before
like,
that. So like I was all over
yeah.
that. But then it was Facebook and Instagram, and then it was when Snapchat came out, and that's when I lost touch. And it was because there was just too much. Like I think I can't do all
Yeah.
this, and I was on it, but I'm like, I didn't really get it, and it probably wasn't actually for me. It was for, at the time I would have been 18, so it was probably more for that younger age. And it's kind of died off now, but there was that, and then we had, well, after Snapchat, it really, what was that video one that was really short form?
Vine.
Yeah, Vine.
Vine.
Then we had Vine, and I missed that
Mhm.
completely. And then we had TikTok come out, which that's probably only been in the last two years,
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah. 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think
and
2 years
yeah,
really blew up. But
and
yeah, 3 years.
it took me only this year to get on that. And even that, like, I'm just filming and then cutting and pasting it across there. I'm not even using the app. Like, it's just, so that in myself, just like, I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to be that guy that doesn't know how to use the computer or doesn't know how to do this, and I'm so far away from it now. And that becomes natural. So we've kind of gone off topic, but if we play it back to yourself, is okay. So you wanted to stay up to date with all these things, and you said you would have done that, so you could have seen where it led and what it did give you. Why do you think, if you had done that, you'd be any better off? Like, because you have all this information of now knowing where it's went. It's like, oh, I should have invested in Google 10
Yeah.
years ago or something. But why?
I don't think I would have been chasing the money as much as I was now. I think I
Okay.
would still be chasing the curiosity of Kev.
Yeah,
Like
right.
my curiosity in technology and like gaming and obviously like social platforms and stuff like that. I think what happens is when I was graduating high school, when finishing 16, 18, is that the only thing you think about is what job is going to get me the most money,
Yeah, that's
what's going
true.
to be the most stable, right? And so I think that's what would be completely different, is that one, it possibly could be a lot more money if I went that route, but it could also be coming from a place of sincere
Yeah,
curiosity
okay.
and learning. And I think
Yeah,
that's what is important, because now, like we spoke, now that I'm learning about blockchain tech now,
yeah.
I feel like I'm a kid again, because all I want to do is learn.
That
And like,
curiosity.
and I'm staying up, I'm sleeping for 4 hours a day, and it's because I want to learn. And it's
Yeah.
like, man, like if you want to do something, you'll do it regardless, right?
That's true. And yes, you are probably making a bit of money from that, but it's not money driven, because
Yeah,
the curiosity is outweighing it. And look, I mean, I can get that. I mean, it's not like I was super curious about, me reselling or whatnot, but it's the same mentality. Is I'm not earning nowhere near as where I was earning when I was, working for someone else. But here I am building a podcast and doing my business to help, fund my lifestyle. And that in itself, I'm learning every day. I'm learning, even podcasts, how I can edit better, or how I can do this
yeah,
different, or whatever platforms. And then for the reselling of the stuff to sell, and how do I sell better? How do I lower costs? How do I manage my, cash flow, and all these things I'm learning. So I'm having to be super curious and be willing to learn. Whereas when you're doing a 9 to 5, yeah, you're learning, unless there's a passion behind that and you're just doing it because you need the paycheck, then yeah, you're right. That curiosity disappears, but because you're getting the money, you're just motivated to keep doing it. And then
yeah,
what you've just explained, it separates the difference, because you're clearly not motivated by the money. You're motivated by the interest, the curiosity, and the potential of where this can go, which, yeah, of
yeah,
course, maybe one day it will earn you money. But you know it's like if you work at a job, sure, when you start you might be getting $50,000, even for an average job, working full time. The more experience you get, maybe after 5-10 years, you're earning $150,000.
yeah,
It's like with anything, right? It's you investing time into something, whether it was tech, you know, 10 years ago, or if it was now going into crypto and learning for the next 1 year, if it takes you to learn to become somewhat of someone that can go in and execute quickly, then that's going to pay off. But you don't not necessarily there to chase the money. You're there to chase I want to know more about this, because that's what's fueling your enjoyment.
yeah, yeah, for
Okay.
sure, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Look, it's one of the hindsight. I mean, hindsight can come back in such in big perspective, right? Because
Yeah,
we every day you do something, it's like, oh, even as simple as like from last week, or someone told you so, or the big one is like, oh, that investment, is usually the big one or whatnot. But the beauty of hindsight is the only way to understand hindsight is to go through it, which is what I kind of said to you before, because, where you are now, to appreciate what you've got and, how far you've come, well, you've had to go through all that experience to then appreciate that, oh, if only I had spent the time doing more video games. So there would be no
mm-hmm.
way for you to have known that. But I think the beauty of it is, well, now that you know that, and the power of experience, the power of time, it's like, well, okay, so yeah, you missed out on that 5 years back then, or the 10 years back then. What's stopping you for the next 5 to 10 years then? Right. And I think that's when you really start to have to weigh up, like, okay, how serious really am I? Because if you are serious, well, then you should be willing to dive in another 5 years, 10 years into whatever it is that you want to be
Yeah,
doing.
for sure.
Because otherwise you'll get another 5-10 years down the track and you'll be exactly in the same situation.
Same
Oh,
spot.
I should have
Yeah, you
started
look
5-10
back
years
and
ago.
you're like, yeah, I should have really went for it. And I think, and it's weird because I feel like that happens so often for so many people. Like I bet you in like 10 years, we're doing this,
Yeah.
and I've been like, hey man, remember when we were talking about this? And it's like, I kind of wish I was doing this and stuff. And even our parents, they're probably saying 10 years ago they should have done this, or they should have quit their job, or people should have quit their job, or left a relationship, or just,
Yeah.
and it's always gonna change.
From your experience, why do you think it is that, or what, maybe it's for you personally, or maybe you can do it as a generalization of what stops us from actually then doing that for the next 5-10 years, or taking that action? What do you think it is? Like, I know the cliche for me is probably, is it doubt, fears, imposter
Yeah.
syndrome, or is it just can't be bothered, or like, what do you think?
I think it's all of that, to be honest. I think it's a lot of fear, like the uncertainty of everything.
Yeah.
Um They have this saying in like the crypto space called FUD, FUD, fear,
Okay.
uncertainty, doubt.
Oh, okay.
So fear, uncertainty, doubt, and that's like the thing that really stirs up everything. And I think that's what it is for a lot of people. It's like, um there's always going to be, and it's usually you telling yourself, giving yourself reasons of why you can't do it or why you
Yeah.
shouldn't do it. Oh, Kev, you shouldn't spend too much time. You shouldn't be sleeping for 4 hours a day because you need to make money. You need to
Yeah.
get more clients. Like, is this really what you want to do? Or are you just jumping in it because it's
Yeah.
cool? Like, because you've done this before and
Yeah.
yourself, right? So for me, it's like, I know my personality, and I think sometimes that I use that against myself to
Yeah.
want to get my goals. Like, Kev, like you just like jumping into fads, or you like, slacking up doing this, or like,
Yeah.
are you really taking this seriously? It's a lot of that stuff, and you really don't know until you actually do it. But it's possible. It is possible because so many people do it, but so many people don't at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of those catch-22s because you think about these things and you see other people executing it so well. And look,
Yeah.
it's always the the luxury of compare, right? Because you see everyone else makes it look like a breeze. And I know we've chatted about this in so many different ways and so many different
Mm-hmm.
times, but you see someone else and they're executing it. It just seems so smooth. They're ahead of you. Whether I'll just use YouTube as an example. They might be 5 times ahead of you, right? Everything just looks easy. They're doing it great, and you think, well, what am I doing wrong? And whether you're doing something wrong or not, it's hard to always tell because it's all in your head. Now you're fighting against yourself unless someone else outside of your own mind is telling you, okay, you stuffing up here, you need to change this, and that will help you grow. Then the rest of it's in our head. We're battling against ourselves, because I think last time when we chatted, when we did the podcast, sorry, that would have been like, jeepers, must have been March, April, at the start of this year,
Yeah.
2021. And, I know around that time, I was also venting about YouTube, you were venting about YouTube. And at the time that I was probably around 600, 700 subscribers. And now I'm at, 1100. And I was wondering, why isn't it growing? Why isn't it being quicker? And, here we are, that must be 6 months later. And I'm there, got it, cool. But it's the same thing over again. You're like, okay, everyone else seems to be ahead. What's going on? And
Yeah.
it's always that. And like, I'm just using YouTube as the cliche example here, but it's like with anything. And we spoke about it before. It's like trying to get into the housing market. You're always playing catch up. You're always behind. But I think we need to change that mentality because, well, you're not actually behind because, well, you're actually now 6 months more ahead than you were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But you're looking at the next 6 months. And I know this is something that I've struggled with heaps is you're growing and you're learning so much and you don't realize that, okay, when you've hit your milestone, you don't feel that you don't feel achieved or accomplished because you're already looking at that next milestone and that's what you
Yeah.
want. But you never actually appreciated, celebrated, enjoyed the moments of glory along the way. And that's why you're like, oh, I haven't grown. And it's like, well, dude, you've just grown for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it is because when you think of hindsight, well, there's actually a lot that you do achieve. And we're so quick to complain about the things that aren't necessarily even worth complaining about because it's all in our head. And it really comes down to the self-doubt and then the fear and uncertainty of like, well, okay, if I do want to be better, then something has to change. And it might mean taking that risk or doing different content or diving into a new space or just keep doing the same thing over and over, like, showing up and being consistent because there's no right or way answer to this, like right or wrong answer to this. It's a matter of, well, these people are continuing to doing what they're doing. They're changing. They're doing just as much as you are. But to you, that's all you've got to compare to. I mean, if it was
Yeah.
all of yourself, like if there was 5 Kevins, the
It'd be
question,
easy to be. Yeah.
well, yeah, the question would be, are they all doing the same thing or are they all doing 5 different things?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, and that's it's crazy that you say that. It's because like we also don't see, when we compare ourselves to other people, we also don't see all the external factors that can either boost them to where they are or hold them back,
Yeah.
living situations, money, family, like, there's just so many other factors. All we see is how many subscribers does that person have and why is it more than what I have?
Yeah.
Right?
True. It's
That's
true.
that's what it is. And I've done it too, and
Yeah.
it sucks, and it's like you just never take in anything. It's like, oh, I didn't know that person had 3 people helping them edit the videos and put it
Yeah.
out. Oh, they have a whole team. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's could be a whole bunch of different things. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I think it is that whole fear, uncertainty, and doubt, like within ourselves, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it just creeps up, man, and it sucks. It
Okay.
sucks. Yeah.
So before I jump onto the next stuff that we're going to dive into, I want to then ask you the question again. Now that we've gone through, discussed everything a bit, and like there's a lot, it's quite deep, and I know we've kind of touched it very lightly. But so now that you've just discussed what we just discussed, and
Okay.
I'll ask you the question again. So with everything that you know now, through life, the things we've just discussed as well. If you were 16, 18, before you're about to venture on into the big wide world, would you have done anything different, or what would have you done? Is it still the same thing?
I think it'd still be the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just going through it, and even not just now, like within the last couple of months, just like seeing everything unfold. I think I'd yeah, same thing, man.
Awesome.
Invest in tech.
That's
Tech
awesome.
video
It's
games.
good. I want, because now that we've worked through it, we've kind of
Unraveled it a bit.
chewed through
Yeah.
it. There might have been some more enlightenments, but no, that's cool. So I appreciate you sharing that. The next thing I wanted to dive in, and I know you've seen this in advance, but for those that are listening, I came up with these what if scenarios, and we've just kind of been playing on these different. Well, we've just been talking about Kevin, and if he knew what he knew now, how would he apply it differently back then? And I figured, there's that TV show from Marvel, What If, and I thought, this would be a similar, a bit of fun
Yeah.
to play.
That's exactly what I thought when you sent it to me.
Yeah,
and
well,
I got
that's what
that.
inspired me, because I know you love Marvel and
Yeah,
things like
I
that.
love all that stuff.
So what I did, folks, is basically I've come up with, I think I've got 3 or 4 different scenarios here in terms of, and they are all hypothetical. And I'm going to play them out to Kevin, and Kevin's going to then answer of how he would react or play it out. And the whole purpose of this is to help us think outside the box, to get a bit more deeper understanding of, Kevin and how he operates and how he thinks. But I also wanted to encourage you guys that are listening to ask these questions to yourself as well. And how would you answer them, or what would you do with the same situations? Because they are hypothetical, but they could all, maybe somewhat, maybe not, but they could all potentially happen in some sorts or another.
Yeah.
So we'll get into number one. And the first one is a bit of a cliche one. It's like, you inherit, win, or you come into $300,000 at 21. Assuming you're 21 now in this current world, how are you going to be executing or exercising this $300,000?
Oh man. And I feel like when I read it, I was like, I have such a boring answer, because I feel like this is what everyone would say. But like, obviously, investing.
Okay. So why? Like, it's such a cliche. Like, people say invest because that's what you know. But for someone that's not investing, why would you invest?
I think there's something about financial freedom that I haven't tasted yet.
Okay.
Where I feel like if I was 21 now and I had $300,000, because if I was 21 and I had this back then, I already know I'd be spending on the most ridiculous, stupid stuff in the world. I'd be eating everywhere. I'd be blowing it on so many different things. But now it's like, the goal is to do what you love, right? And regardless of the money. So if I can make that 300,000 and turn it into generational wealth, which one of the best things to do is invest. And it could be investing in stocks, real estate, investing in people, like actual people that you believe in, to help you build that wealth. I just feel like I just want to taste financial freedom just one time, where I don't have to think about where the next paycheck is coming from, or what I'm doing. And I think that might be the best for me to do. Just kind of sit on it and like watch it and try to grow it,
Yeah, especially if you were doing what you already did for the next 9-10 years, but that 300K was just kind of sitting and growing, then because it's set and forget, right? But would there be, you did mention that there's a few different ways that you would invest, whether it's in people or assets, or would there be a certain, like, I know you said in different
percentage,
diverse, or would you be a percentage, or would you lean probably more to, housing, or would you lean more to shares, or?
Yeah, I feel like real estate and as crazy as it is, cryptocurrency.
Yep.
I think those two would probably be my biggest assets
okay.
that I'd invest in.
Yep.
Just the potential. Real estate has always been like a solid investment throughout history, right?
Yeah. That's
and
true.
then with crypto, it's this new it's new and it's just exciting, right? So I also want to be excited with some of the stuff.
That's
like
true.
my index, like, I'm banking on companies I'm like, I have no interest in. I'm like, what? I'm like, wow, great, just take my money and let's see it grow. And I'm like, that doesn't excite me. So I feel like that's how it is in real estate. It's not like real estate I'm like watching the markets real hard, but I think the real estate would be the found structure, and then the cryptocurrency is where I could really have my fun with my money.
Okay. And so you don't have to reveal details, but you've obviously got investments now. So you've got a bit of crypto. Do you have shares or any real estate?
Yeah, I have some shares in some stuff, not real estate though.
Okay.
I feel like that I would need a couple more bucks in a wallet, couple more bags, man.
And so then for the shares, then we'll just use that as an example. Like, when did you first enter the share market then?
Oh man, a couple of years ago. I can't remember. Yeah, but it wasn't like I was deep into it. It was one of those things where, because I wasn't reresearching it. It was just like, oh, I heard you should be investing into something.
So you didn't have any investment at 21 then?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
That's. I think that's what stems the hindsight. Like, I should have
exactly.
Right? I should have been.
Because what I'm trying to allude to for those listening is like, okay, let's say you invested 3 years ago, and you don't have to tell us numbers because I don't want you to reveal anything like that. But from that 3 years that you've had it in the market, would you have a ballpark of how much that's grown, like a percentage, or just off the cuff?
Off the cuff, it's not much. I don't know. Let's say between 10. It's like slow percentage. 10 and maybe like 15.
Okay. So, but when we think of it that way, right? 10, 15% in 3 years, right? We'll just say 3 years.
Yeah.
But you're 30 or 31.
Yeah, 30.
Somewhat.
Yeah. In the 30s.
I'm like,
I after 30, you completely forget. You're like, I don't care.
We'll go with 30 just for the conversation.
I'm like 30. Yeah.
So, if you had invested at 21, right, and 3 years got you 10, 15%, then that compounding, right? And then there's another 3. What I'm trying to say is you can see how valuable it is to get into that early. It's the same with, as we've already discussed, whether you're entering a job. First year, you're going to be working, you're going to be learning, you're going to be understanding. You're a graduate, you're an entry level individual, so you can't be expected to be earning the big bucks. But as you go through and get that experience, you get the skill set, then you can go apply for that job that, okay, I'm earning the big bucks now, or you get certain, I guess, perks or whatever, because that's what you bring to the game. It's the same with investments of time. It's time, because I'm not saying that time guarantees you're going to be rich, but usually it's time in the market and growth and that consistency of showing up, putting in, working through it, saving, budgeting, investing, that it will see it grow. I think it's a good answer. I wanted to break it down to help people understand the mentality behind it, because I tell people, 20, because I wish I started when I was 20. I started when I was at 23, 20. I started about 21, 22.
Okay.
But if I had started at 18, I would have had 4 or 5 years up my, like, so,
and that's a lot of time that people don't understand. They're like, oh, that's not a, like, man, 4 years is a lot of time. Even like for anything, but even speaking about percentages, imagine it
blows my. Okay, no, I appreciate you answering that. So scenario number 2 then.
This one's hilarious. Okay,
this one's good, and it changes the game of everything. Like, because
especially for sure,
people will know in a bit. So, what if there's no electricity for a year anywhere in the world? How does this change your perspective and approach to everything?
When I was like reading through it, I was like, well, this changes everything.
Yeah.
I told myself that it would completely change everything. I feel like electricity should be a basic human need for, or yeah, for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
unfortunately not everyone has that, but like um instantly, if there was no electricity, it's instant survival mode.
But
Instant
it's for a
survival
year.
mode.
You know, it's for a year.
Yeah, but even still,
Yeah.
it's people. I'm not like I'm thinking, um, if it happened today, that the people in this world, I know I would be fine. Like,
Yeah.
I can figure out how to make a fire. I do all this stuff, right? But I'm thinking of the people, like when the pandemic hit. Like, remember
Yeah.
how crazy
Oh
it
yeah.
got? Like, people were like grab it. Like, I
Yeah.
just feel like I would have to go into some type of survival mode where I would
Yep.
have to learn how to kill somebody. Like, I would have to learn how to like fight and fend for myself, because
Yeah.
I think it would just be insane having to go get food somewhere, or like do this
Yep.
or do this. And then with my whole thing was all about technology.
Yeah, I know.
So that goes out the window. So I'm like, okay, what would I do? I guess I would meditate and find myself,
Yeah.
is what I would yeah.
But this in itself is it's like, as cliche it is it's actually something that realistically could actually happen. Like, maybe not for a
sure.
year, but well, it could, whatever. But it's one of those things that we rely on so heavily that we take it for granted, right? Especially us that have it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, we had some recent storms and stuff, and there's people that have been out of power for up to 4 weeks, 5 weeks, right? And for me, we had it out for about 3 hours. Sometimes we've had power out for maybe 12 hours max. But then you get it back and you think, oh, cool, everyone's back on board. But there's people down the road and they still hadn't had it for 3 months, or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's like, what the heck? Like, sorry, not 3 months, like 3-4 weeks. And you're thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, how are they surviving? What are they doing? And of course, there's
Yeah.
things in place to enable them to go live somewhere else, or whatever. But it's crazy to think, because I think it would be a bit different if someone told us a year from now the power's going off for a year, like,
sure.
and that's global. We can work towards achieving something
solution.
together.
Yeah.
But if it all of a sudden just went off with no alarm, no alert, and then you're told, oh, by the way, this is going to be like this for the next year, that's when it would be a bit of a weird thing. But like, in all honesty, I know it's very hard to say what would you do. You've kind of said you had to go into survival mode, and which is true, because everyone would kind of go a little nuts. But your predominant business is videography. You're a YouTuber,
on the internet,
like, and you're a tech freak. Like what the heck would you do? Like, let's say everyone's on the same playing field. We remove the whole idea of like, okay, it's not about the survival first mode, but
Okay.
what would you turn to? Like, what would you do?
Oh man, I love being outdoors. I
Okay.
completely love being outdoors. So like, uh, I and I know a lot of my friends would probably want to do this too. Is like go like camping, like being
Yeah.
out in the wilderness. And I feel like I could be out there for like 3 months. After that, I don't know. Also catching my food, I don't know about that. But like, in reality, I know I could. If that was the case, it's like, why not just be somewhere where there isn't any internet, where you can kind of enjoy it and
Yeah.
just be with yourself. And for the longest time, a lot of my family, we used to love doing that stuff, outdoor stuff,
Yeah.
hiking and camping and all that stuff. So I think I'd be okay in that sense. And that's what I would want to
Yeah.
do if power was gone. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what else I would be able to do.
It's
I
one
like
of those
enjoy
things,
that.
because naturally when we ask, and I'm already thinking the same thing, it's like we think, well, how will anything work? Like, but we lived for years without electricity. People survived.
Yeah.
People had lives. People were able to eat and stuff. The first thing I think was like, well, how would we freeze food? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, but that's not the end of it. Everything, right? Like, but it is. It's that weird concept of like, well, yeah, sure, everything that you and I do, podcasts, we would, like, all that stuff,
Everything
it
online.
wouldn't work, right? And it would be a huge game changer. And I think it would start to realize it would be a big wake up call of how, I guess, stuck in a false reality we live. I'm not even talking about VR. Like, I'm just talking how we live in a reality of technology and
Right now,
electricity.
how integrated it is into our life.
Yeah. And it's a huge wake up call. I'm not here to tell it, I'm not here to get, the 5-step guide of how to survive if electricity dies, but I think it's something
Yeah.
very, very interesting to think about, because sometimes we get so fixated on life, and sometimes to just slow down and have a thought about that,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I think there's actually a TV show about this. I think it only had one season, but
It's okay. I'm not even gonna. This is so weird that you said that. Literally 2 days ago, I remember watching a show that was
okay.
about this, and it was before you, or not 2 days ago, maybe last week, but it was before I got the
Okay.
notes from you, because I watched that show and I thought it was so cool,
Oh,
and I it was like the power went out and they had to start doing like horses,
yeah.
and it was the guy in Mandalorian, the villain. He was part of that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the villain in that show, and that's why I was watching. Like, he's also the villain in Breaking Bad.
Oh,
Sorry,
really?
guys, off
Oh,
topic.
wow.
So
Wow.
I was for some reason I was like, hey, what happened to that show where like the power went out and then they set up camps and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and a guy was looking for his daughter. And I think it's that same show that I was talking about, which is so weird.
I think it only had one season. I think
it did,
Yeah.
and like, and then like someone had like an energy, like a battery, and like it was like it changed the game. Oh man, it was called like.
Oh, I'll have to put it in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. So
but,
if you guys want to watch it, it's cool.
To be honest, when I was trying to build this up, that was probably the premise. And I remembered that, there was a TV show, but I couldn't for the life of me remember the name of it. And this is going back like probably 6-7 years now.
Yeah, it was long. It was long.
It's like, I can see you looking it up. I'm gonna find it first. Revolution.
Yeah.
The TV show was called Revolution. Guys, we just cut a little bit there, but we were
researching
it. So the TV show was called Revolution. Oh, actually, it was 2 seasons.
And then Giancarlo Esposito was the villain. He's a famous
executive producer, J.J. Abrams. There you go.
Yeah. He was huge.
Yeah. So this is a similar premise, guys. So it's a post-apocalyptic dystopia world after an unknown reason shuts down electricity, leading to the collapse of public order. So, well, that would definitely happen.
Yeah, that's why I initially said survival mode, because I was like, oh, of course, everyone would, government.
It's an interesting thing, but look, like I said, I'm not expecting some big amazing answer. I wanted your first reaction, and I got it. So thank you. Okay, so what if number 3, or scenario number 3, and this one, the classic one that we all dream of or think about is, what if you had 3 wishes? What would you wish for and why? And of course, you can't wish for more wishes.
Yeah. I think I don't know in what order this would be in, but I feel like that whole scenario of you turning back the hands of time, but keeping your knowledge, I think I do. And then after I did that, I definitely create the internet.
Okay.
I feel like I'd be on top of the world right now. And I think giving people basic human needs, water, give everyone a even playing field,
like a universal basic income, or just
like even just shelter, fresh water, clothing, you know what I mean?
Just leveling the playing field.
Yeah, a little bit, at least the very basic, the necessities, right? And I feel like that in terms of, there's so many great minds around the world. Imagine
that's true.
How much potential if everyone around the world grew up with
the same starting, yeah.
Right. And I just feel like we would be way more advanced. Maybe it wouldn't be so polarizing in terms of wealth.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or power, or it could be a totally bad thing. But I feel like I'd wish for that to see, because I feel like there's just so many great minds that you just don't know.
Yeah.
If everyone got that same playing field.
Yeah, no, that's true. So that's 2, right?
Well, I said turn back the hands of time, and then I said keeping my, going back in time, but keeping my knowledge now, and then creating the internet, I think would be.
So you would wish to create the internet?
Yeah, I think so.
But if you went back, wouldn't you be able to create the internet anyway?
I guess.
I'll give you one more.
Be taller. Actually, that was in my notes. It's so funny. I'm because I have my I wrote that. I said be taller, because I would honestly, I just want to know what it feels like a little bit, to be honest.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
No, in centimeters.
160. 65 or 67.
Ooh, I'm 168. On a good day, 169.
No. Okay, then wait. Wait. Then maybe I'm lying. Maybe I gotta double.
I'm not
check.
that tall, dude.
Well, 100. Okay. Really? I feel like you're tall.
No.
Oh, oh wait, hold on. In centimeters.
Wow. If I feel.
Oh no, I'm 160. I'm 160.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you must be about the same height as Carla. Okay.
Yeah. You know, Filipinos stand together.
Yeah, no comment.
About the average.
I'm not gonna
It's the
dig a hole.
average height.
Okay. No, that's fair enough, man. That's fair enough. But how tall? If you could be taller, how tall?
Oh man,
You'd have
I
to
feel
set
like-
it because otherwise you'll get too
Yeah.
tall and you won't like it.
I like 6'6", I think.
6'6". That's
Okay. Sorry, I keep.
That's
I
tall,
keep
right?
saying-
like
oh,
that's
that's
so
that's
like
really tall.
is that like
That's like an
NBA
average-
player?
Yeah, like an average. I had like 200 centimeters.
Wow, dude, that's
Yeah.
like 40 centimeters taller than me.
Well, I'm not gonna say like I like my my goal wouldn't be like 170 from 160. I have to go to 200. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they get the wish once.
I have to. Like that's a waste of a wish if I'm only going like 20 centimeters. I gotta go for the full 40, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, okay.
I just feel like if I was average height, you know, I feel maybe was average. I 167 to whatever.
Yeah.
Feel like I wouldn't have this wish.
Yeah, that's
But because
true.
I've been small, I'm like, what does it feel like? Give me a little bit something, Lord, please.
It's funny because I always thought I was a short one in my high school. And like the grade below me was even taller. Like I hated it. But that's just the way it was. But you know, when I started to get involved a bit more with the Filipino community, I felt like a giant.
Yeah, you're like, oh my, you see Carla's family, you're like, what the heck? I'm huge.
That's funny, man. Okay, so the three wishes was basically you could hands of
turn my
time
dance time
and
Yeah.
keep the knowledge. Second one being to bring some level of everyone starting at the same playing field with the basic necessities.
Yeah.
So that equal playing field from zero. And the third one being a little bit taller.
Yeah. I think and the reason why is like I've always wanted to be a basketball player ever since I was younger, and I
Okay.
couldn't. I think
Yeah.
that's where it stems from.
Yeah.
It's like I've always just loved it. So maybe my third wish was become a basketball player.
It's not too late, man. It's not too late.
Yeah. I've been drinking milk every single day for the last 30 years. I think I'm done. So I think
goodness.
I'm done.
Oh my goodness. All right. Scenario number 4, and this is the
Yep.
last one. So, what if you were given the chance on a lottery to go to the moon or even Mars? Would you go, and why? Or if no, why not?
I definitely go, and it's because I think there's something in like doing things that actually scare you, and especially being. And I'm assuming that not a lot of people have gone, right? It's not like it's like a normal thing.
Well, it's a
in
lottery,
the
so
time.
like, I mean, I think
like
this is
Willy
an
Wonka
interest-
and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, but I think it's an interesting scenario because we are on the cusp or really close. Elon Musk trying to take people to Mars in 2022, 2023, and we've got NASA racing back to the moon. And so over the next 5, 10, 20 years, there's a reality there where people would probably be going there on a more not on a more regular basis, but it would be more than in the last 50 years. And it's that kind of thing where I feel like, well, there's probably likely to be this expectation or this world of like, well, why should the rich only get to go? Why can't anyone go? And how that would play out would probably be via lottery system, because right, because otherwise it would always be the rich going and the world would just be left with people with no money. And then they'll rise up or whatever, but we're getting off topic. I guess, yeah. So it's a lottery, anyone
I'd
could
go.
enter. Okay.
Yeah, I'd go for sure. I think doing something that like not a lot of people would be able to do, right? Like you said, want to flex it, like, yo, hey, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
going to Mars.
So if it was tomorrow, and let's say that's all existing and it could happen with your current circumstance, would you go tomorrow?
I'd go tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I'd go tomorrow. It's not like I did my research on like I'd be scared out of my mind, but I just feel like it's an opportunity that I just never get in my lifetime again.
Yeah.
and to be able to like do it and then tell people and tell my kids, I feel like it'd be
so
interesting.
what if I flipped it and said, okay, but you can't come back?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, that changes everything. No,
Yeah.
because my because I feel like my family and my friends mean way more to me than trip to the Mars or moon.
Yeah.
Or
No,
whatever.
it's an interesting perspective, right? Because I think it helps give that perspective and what's true and dear to you as well. Because you're right. First, it's like opportunity of a lifetime. You want to go because not everyone gets that opportunity. But as soon as you put that spin to it, it's like, oh well, hell no. It's like
yeah. I think I'm old enough to understand my values. Maybe if I was younger, I would be like, yeah, I never want to come back. Screw this.
Yeah.
But for sure, yeah, for sure, I definitely want to come back, and I feel like that's part of it because I want to be able to tell them my experience and share it.
Yeah.
And be like,
Wow.
So yeah. How about you? Would you do it?
For the first
in general,
yeah.
First premise, would you do it?
I don't know. Like it's definitely something I'm not jumping at it. Like you can tell I'm hesitating.
Yeah.
I like I'm trying to answer it off the cuff and think of like, well, why would I want to? There's the whole idea like, yeah, okay, other people can't say, it's an opportunity of a lifetime, but it's like, I don't know.
What would you get out of it?
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to weigh up. Like but then again, I feel like if my friend went, like then maybe it's like, oh, maybe I should have went, or like, that's that FOMO, like
FOMO,
it's never. I mean, I like, if recent, I've just been love watching how we're getting so close to be embarking in that whole world of going to space. and what that looks like over the next 10, 20 years. It's a weird, scary, thing to think about because I've always been a big lover of sci-fi and, there's a video game, Eve Online. I loved the whole idea of that. Then there's the TV show called The Expanse. I've loved all that stuff because I love the possibilities, but it's also, it's a weird thing to comprehend. Like you're going to Mars and it's, everyone's going there every day of the week kind of thing. Yeah, probably. But if it was kind of like, it's like, it's still a little, not a bit far-fetched and, you've won the lottery, but don't know if you'll actually come back. I mean, that's like with anything.
Wait, hold on.
No.
I think I'm getting confused. Is it dangerous or do I know like
no, but
like in my head I was like,
dangerous.
I'm going with experienced people. Yeah, I know.
Of course. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, the way you can jump in a car with anyone, right?
Of course.
And you might not come back
in
right?
the ocean.
But for some reason we go in a car and it's acceptable. If you've never gone in space, but lots of people are doing it or whatever. Sure, it's safe, but it's still a very big unknown. It's like the first time you drive your car. Like, wait, do you drive?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so when you first learn to drive, it's a scary thing because
oh no, like I've driven before.
Oh, okay. But you know what I mean, like, because once now I could, don't quote me on this, but I could probably eat a hamburger, change gears because I drive a manual, turn indicators, change gears, go around the corner, I'm eating a hamburger at the same time. Like,
you're doing so many different things. You're multitasking.
Yeah. Whereas when you first started, it's like, oh my gosh, oh, what's this, like, and
you're looking at everything.
Exactly. So, I think that would be something that I would have to weigh up of where that level is, because it's still a scary thing. Space is a scary thing. Like it is.
It is. And this is what I wanted to ask you too, is because like I'm actually more scared of the ocean, like the deep depths of the ocean than space. You know how some people they're like opposite, but there's something about the depths of the ocean that is way scarier to me.
But you've been in the ocean.
Yeah. Right. Of course.
You haven't been in space.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
like the fear you have of the ocean is real, whereas the fear or lack of fear of space doesn't exist, because
I think it's the and I don't know why, but it's like not being able to see things, right?
Yeah.
I feel like in space, if I'm looking out, and I know things are going at tremendous speed, so it doesn't even matter if I can see things. I just know that, okay, if I'm looking and I'm seeing a meteor coming at me, I'd be more at ease with that than if I was in the ocean and I'm turning and I can't see anything around me because it's so dark.
Yeah, but think about it in space. If you're actually in space, like you're not in a rocket ship in space, but
Yeah,
you're
you're like in the vacuum of
immersed in
space.
space, like you can't move. Like you can't pull, you can't push.
Yeah, you're not doing
So
that stuff.
if you're out in space and all of a sudden you're drifting, like that's it, buddy. You're drifting away. At least in the ocean, yeah, you're drifting, but you can control. you can change the direction. You can like if you know that there's land 200, 300, 400 meters away,
Yeah.
you can somewhat float and direct yourself there. You're in space.
That's fine. I'm talking about like being down at the bottom of the ocean.
Also submerged underwater.
Yeah. Being above it,
okay.
That's fine.
Have you done scuba diving?
No.
Yeah, okay.
That is just.
Is that because you're scared of it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that was just a fear. Yeah. That's
no. I get you. When I first did snorkeling, it was a bit of a and then you slow down. I can understand that as well. It's a bit of a, I've had those moments where I've been underwater holding my breath to try and get something, and you think you can reach it, and you can feel that moment, and you can hold on that bit longer, but there's that split second of like, oh my gosh, is this it? Like, it's
I don't want that moment.
or like, you've been in the pool with friends and you're underwater too much, and like you get that little tease of something, and that's in a pool and you can stand. Or maybe you can't, right? And that's why it's a bit scarier. So yeah, I can.
Sure.
So to answer your question, then, look, yes, in some realms, I think if I'm in control, then it's all good. But if I'm, if I'm with other people and they're kind of like mucking around, or we were being, like I don't like that, because even though I can tread water, I can swim. Maybe not to necessarily save my life over a kilometer. But I'm comfortable enough. But no, I don't like going to the beach and walking out past and I can stand. Because that's what's freaky, because like, I don't know how far I have to go to get back to something safe.
I think I'm with you on that too.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
And that's probably just because haven't been out there doing it a lot. I think if you grew up with the water, like, I mean,
of course they're like, they're doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure. But for me, no way. Fear of the unknown.
You're not near the beach, are you? You're like in the.
No, we're in the city, like suburbs. So
like how far away from ocean?
Really far from the ocean, really far. But we have lakes, obviously, but it's not the same. Ocean, like, because we're in the middle of like it, like I would say inland from the
so what are we talking? 100k, 200k from ocean, or?
Oh no, like I don't even know. We're provinces away.
Okay.
or states away. I don't know what the actual.
So you're in the middle of Canada.
Yes, like yeah. I would say
because you're Toronto, right?
Yeah. If I was on the edge, like Vancouver, is closer to the ocean than
yeah. So so it's one random question now that we're kind of gone off track, but I'm now very curious. Ocean versus river. So I find diving or swimming underwater in a river is a bit more weird than in the ocean.
Yeah, because aren't rivers like not really that deep?
I don't know. Like, it's just weird. Like, have you ever like gone underwater in a river and like, as if you were snorkeling or with goggles and looked around? I feel like it's scary and weird, and
like muckier like that
too,
as
just,
well.
I don't know. That's just a mentality. Whereas you jump in the ocean, it's beautiful, coral,
and it's like fishes. Open.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the ocean is way scarier, but I can see how a river being scary,
or a lake, even a lake.
Yeah, even a lake too. Yeah. I feel like a river is a little bit shallower and more concentrated in certain areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
we've gone so far.
We're talking about our fears now.
So let me bring it back. So look, I mean, the whole intent of this episode, this is for everyone that's listening, is I wanted to be able to bring some fresh perspective. And obviously we started off hearing from Kevin about hindsight and what he's gone through and learnt and what he would have done differently. And I think it's an important conversation to have with ourselves, because us being around 30, you've gone through, I'm not saying we've conquered life or anything, but we've got enough experience behind our belts to now realize, okay, we could have done this, or we still have time to change the story. We still have time to change the narrative. And I think it's super important that whether you're 16, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50, 60, whatever, that you should be reflecting. You should be taking those moments to just grasp and comprehend how far you have come, how, what you've achieved, and maybe the things that you haven't achieved, to be able to kind of just take that moment to zoom out and see, well, okay, if you actually want something, then you need to make that decision to change it. Because Kevin here has said that he would have liked to invest more time into into the tech and into video games and things like that. And I said to him, well, why can't you do it now, right? And I love, before we started recording, we were chatting about the stuff that you're dabbling in and how much curiosity and how much fun you've been having doing it. And I think that's really important, that it's never too late. And I think it's important to, even using some of these different scenarios to just play out some different circumstances, because it helps bring you back to your core around what's important to you. What do you love? What do you enjoy? And sometimes these little experiments or these little scenarios can help us bring that fresh perspective. It's because it's like with the whole pandemic, as cliche as it's been in conversations for the last year, but like it was a wake-up call that helped us see what's not important and what is important. And I think we shouldn't be waiting around for a pandemic to happen, or someone to fire you, or or a bad circumstance to pop up for us to make that pivot or change. I think if you can take control and start now, or do something today, then you'll thank yourself 5, 10, 15 years from now. Do you agree?
Oh, is that a question?
No. It was just real deep, and I could just see you soaking it in.
No, I'm like, yeah, like I'm literally like, you're taking me back. I feel like I'm looking back at myself like that. I'm like,
so
like,
if anyone's watching here on YouTube, like Kevin's just in his days.
I'm like days, yeah.
It's like
I'm
story time with Chris, and he's just like soaking it in. Like,
I am, and I'm thinking about my own life and my decisions. I'm like, man, this is so deep.
Yeah,
so good.
But that's really the
I agree.
It's really the intent. And now, look, Kevin, I really appreciate you jumping on and having the conversation. Bit of a different episode this time for compared to the others, but I think these are some of the things that we need to really dabble in and explore when you are wanting to further your lifestyle, whether it comes to a passion or a hustle or just lifestyle in general, because they're the big questions. And unfortunately, it takes us 20, 30 years to maybe have these deep mindsets or deep, maybe it's just because we mature, right? And it's that I've been saying this to a lot of people over the last couple of weeks, is like, it's like when your parents, when you were 12 or even younger, and your parents said, no, you can't do this, or you're complaining about school, and they say oh, well, when you're my age, you'll wish you're still in school. I appreciate that now. Like, I get it. And that's when you've hit that, you've okay, it all just starts to make sense. But if someone could, if you could fathom that when you're 16, 18, boy, that would be a game changer. Or even younger, right?
It will. But like, it's crazy because even telling my my nephews or nieces at 16, 18, like, you can say it so many times, you can show them evidence, but they're just in that mindset where it's like, I do not care right now, let me just do what I want to do.
Stuff. Anyway,
I know, right? I know. Well, in hindsight,
that's it, man. Thank you so much. I do want to give you the opportunity. Is there anything you do want to leave with the audience before we finish up?
Don't be scared to learn new things or to try new things. Like, if you don't think there's enough time, trust me, there's enough time. Like, you still got some time. So
it's a good one. And really, like, spend time doing it, not just go watch one video and you've learned it. It's like,
immerse yourself. Right? Immerse yourself into things that you actually love doing, right? I think that's like the only way to. I never really understood that, or I was telling myself that I love doing certain things, when like you don't realize it until you actually find something that you are addicted to. Right, you really don't. So find that thing and then immerse yourself into it.
And thank you. And where's the best place to follow you if people are curious of what you're doing or what you're into or whatever? Where's the best place?
YouTube, youtube.com/Kevin Exconde, EXCONDE. That's probably the best place. That's just kind of my fun little channel where I just do whatever I like to do, to be honest.
Love it. That's the way to do it, man. Just to be you and live life. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. And mate, must be getting close to early evening. It must be 8 o'clock over there in Canada.
7:30, yeah.
7:30,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful evening, mate, and appreciate you being on the podcast. And for everyone that's listening, thank you for listening, and you guys have a wonderful day. Cheers.
Later, guys.
Well, there we go, team. What another awesome episode. And I love having these conversations with Kevin simply because they feel like conversations, and sometimes sometimes I do forget that we are recording. But it's been great to have you back, Kevin. Really do appreciate you swinging by and hanging out. And I think the big takeaway for me in this episode is that life does give us lemons. Life does throw things at us, and we are moving so quickly, and I love that both of us being around the same age, having this conversation, we've been able to dive back into, what if we had known information back when we were starting out our journeys into adulthood or into life, or starting a career, or chasing and pursuing passion. And I think it's super important that if you are listening to this, whether you're 18, 30, 40, 50 or older, that's irrelevant. But the point is that we can't go back and change those things. The only thing we can change is going forward and helping other people at the same time. So I would greatly encourage you to have a deep thought, have a deep think about some of these different questions, these different scenarios we've jumped on today, or maybe just think about, well, what are some of the lessons and some of the things that you've learned along the way in your current journey, and how could you use those to help other people potentially leap forward and not make the same mistakes that you did. It's always great to hear perspectives and understanding from different people, and what they've taken from their experiences, because it's a door opening to enabling us or other people listening to take advantage of that, and hopefully leverage those clues that their success has left. So really do appreciate Kevin, and I appreciate you all sticking around, having a listen. And if you have made it this far, it's been an absolute honor to be able to bridge this conversation between you and Kevin, and I've had a lot of fun along the way. So hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for being here. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them, or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.